saying about live? What the fuck is wrong?
Okay, I can see the board.
You can?
Yeah, now I can see it.
Why does it say public view? It says please stand by still. It's weird. My hand should be coming there in a second. I hope. Okay. Did you see my hand?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know where that says stand by. Okay. All right, I'm gonna mute you, and I just called in.
Okay.
For all those who are watching YouTube right now, if you give this about 10 more minutes, 10, 15 more minutes, Lucy and I are getting ready to go live on the radio as well. and we're going to go and do this pretty much in simulcast at the same time. So we'll be on YouTube, and we will be on blogtalkradio.com/paranormal review if you'd like to listen along as well and hear Lucy and I speak at the same time, as well as watching the video of us, well, actually me, doing the Ouija board tonight. Thank you for joining us tonight, though. Thank you. Hi. I'm just going to explain to people who are watching on YouTube right now that you may hear me talking. It's actually me on the phone with Lucy. And like I said, we've got about 12 more minutes till we're live on the air on blogtalkradio.com/paranormal review. Lucy, I'm just going to check the sound level on YouTube. Do you have YouTube up? Yeah, turn it on. I'm going to mute my phone for a second. Tell me if you hear the sound on the video. Is it too loud? Okay. For everybody who is watching, I'm just putting some dark ambient music in the background just to sort of set the mood a little bit. You may have to you have to mute that, Lucy. All right, because I hear it. I get that feedback. I have my sage as well, if everybody's watching. It's a big sage. Actually, I'm going to burn a little bit now. Make sure you do yourself first. I love that smell of sage. It's going to be a little crazy working the board and working YouTube at the same time. We should get a medal for doing this. And then I have some show and tell stuff that I'm going to, little extra thing that I'm going to add for tonight that I haven't shared with Lucy. I haven't shared with you, Lucy. I know you do. You always love surprises. Let me just see something here. Hold on. Can you hear me, Lucy? Wait a minute. Can you hear me, Lucy?
Yeah.
Say hello.
5 minutes until showtime.
Wait, say hello to the YouTube listeners.
Hello, everybody.
Say,
Welcome.
I have Lucy on the phone right now. Alright, let me put you back. Okay, do I have you back? Okay. Lucy, you're watching YouTube. Do you recognize anything that's on the table? Where? Over here? That's the obelisk. And what's in the center? It's what you got me. Oh, see, there's a delay in the YouTube. You watching YouTube? Yeah. Yep. Sorry, I had it too high. Yeah, the skull. And I have some things in it, which I'll explain. Okay, 3 more minutes, guys, till we're live on Blog Talk, and then we'll go live with the Ouija board session. Lucy's breaking out her rosary. Thank you, too. Hello, welcome everyone. That was a weird intro. Did something go wrong with the music? There's something wrong with the Blog Talk tonight. Well, anyway, hello and welcome everyone. It is Friday night, and I hope you can hear me. You are listening to Paranormal Review Radio, the only radio show without commercials and with more great paranormal talk. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Anthony Agati in New York. It's going to be a powerful, powerful night tonight. I can feel the energy, and I can also feel the misperceptions that have been casted on the Ouija world for the past few years. Tonight, Lucy and I are going to tackle the infamous Zozo phenomenon. Yes, that's right. I said its name. Zozo. We'll talk about the history of Zozo, some of the thoughts and characteristics of Zozo, past and present stories of experiences with Zozo, and to top it all off tonight, I will be conducting a live Ouija board session to try and communicate with Zozo. There's a lot to get tonight and a lot to set up, so let's get right into it. I'm actually going to folks because if people are listening to us on Blog Talk and watching us on YouTube, it may be probably confusing on both ends because if you're listening to us, you can't see us, and if you're watching us, you probably can't hear both of us. So I'm going to explain to folks who are not able to visually see the board and see my hands. I've got the Ouija board sitting in front of me right now, which is spookily, if that's a word, spooky setup with some candles right now, which I've completely set up and lit prior to coming on the air, which the YouTube folks have seen me do. I have saged myself, and I have saged the board and the table that I am sitting at right now. I have two pieces of equipment with me. I have the Obelisk 3, which I'm going to turn on right now. So you can hear that turn on, and the folks on YouTube have actually just saw me turn that on. And I've also got the K2 meter, which both of these pieces of equipment are going to be sitting right in front of the board. And it is, if you are watching YouTube, you can visually see them both. The K2 meter, I've been having a little bit of a fluctuation. I've been testing it right before we went on air, and it's been on the first green light, and sometimes it goes on the second green light. So you may see it fluctuate in between both of those. I would not consider that any fluctuation. The obelisk said something, and I don't know what it said. So you may see the K2 meter fluctuate in between the two green. I'm not going to consider that anything as far as electromagnetic or anything at all. I'm only going to consider anything that goes into the orange or the red, really. Not even into the yellow. I've tested the area, I've tested the camera. This thing keeps going off. Hold on a second. Country. Sahela? I have no idea what that means. Anyway, so I've tested all the equipment that is around me right now, and the K2 meter, again, does not go above the second green light. So there's no interference at all, if anything. I'm going to probably turn off this obelisk in a little while because it's annoying me as I'm talking. You know what, I may do that now anyway. I'm probably only going to turn it on once we do the Ouija board. So I've got those two pieces of equipment, so you guys can monitor the video and watch it and see if it fluctuates and let us know. Give us a hint. Let Lucy know. She'll be checking chat. And also in the center here, I have some beads, which I've done some bracelets for Lucy and a few other people, of some quartz and limestone. And apparently quartz and limestone is supposed to be an attraction for spirits. So I put that in a bowl in front of the Ouija board and have that set up here as well. In addition to that, Lucy, have you ever heard of sigils? You have. Oh, okay. Well, I don't watch Game of Thrones, so I mean, I've heard of sigils, and so what I have done is I have, and for the folks who, again, who are watching YouTube, I'll put the paper in front of the camera. I have printed up about, I think it's maybe 90, or maybe close to 90 sigils, or demonic sigil symbols. And I can read some of them off to you. which is Abyss, Anile, Amnixio, Barbiel, Babelel, Kamail, roll in alphabetical order. Celios, I'm just reading the ones that I can actually pronounce. Babam. These are all sigils, which are symbolic meaning. It's sort of like a logo, like NBC and ABC. They all have logos. These are symbolic meanings for the demons itself. And apparently there is no Zozo sigil here, which we'll get into a little bit. So I'm going to put those here on the table so that they are present. And again, everybody who's watching YouTube can hopefully see them here. So they're going to be present here. Apparently you're supposed to write them, I believe. You're supposed to draw them as a symbolic ceremony as you were summoning or casting, but I'm not going to do that. So that's what I have in front of me here. And also too, if you're listening on YouTube, and you may catch it on my earpiece here on Blog Talk, I'm not sure, but I've got some dark ambient music to sort of set the mood a little bit, and maybe that'll entice, if not Zozo, maybe it'll entice some spirits to come. So that's what I have here in front of me. Is that enough, Lucy? Pazuzu, what I've read, just to interrupt here a little bit, Pazuzu, symbolically was put into the Exorcist movie and was deemed demonic and was deemed terrible and horrific. But Pazuzu, in many ancient cultures, was actually created in a statue form and put in people's homes for protection. almost as if it was a holy amulet, as if it was a rosary bead, and yes, Pazuzu has a good side, and yes, Pazuzu had a bad side, but in ancient stories, from what I have gathered, the good of Pazuzu outweighed the bad. It just had a bad temper, and if you got on its bad side, it would strike back. But for all good and purposes, its intentions were good. It was a protector of pregnant women. It was a fertility god almost. So this is where oral history and communication breaks down the reality and the true history of anything, of everything. And this is where misrepresentations happen. Right. Except for the first, well, no, the first recorded one, which was in what, 1816, 1818. Right. But that's it. There really isn't any history to the Zozo name, or the idea of a Zozo demon, or demonic entity of Zozo. Not even in religious faiths there is a connotation to the word Zozo, which I've heard it being called as the altar of Zozo, where there's sort of devil worshipping or ritualistic devil worshipping. I think it was Saint Bernadine, Bernad, Benedictine. I don't know, something with a B. Um, Calling these people who have worshipped the devil, calling it the altar of Zozo, or of some sort of nature of that, where it's the altar of the death, or altar of death, and they've utilized the word Zozo for that nature. But there's no real name or no real connotation to the word Zozo to any demonic entity. There's nothing in the religious books that I can find. There's nothing in ancient history that I can find anywhere, other than where it pops up in 1816 or 1818 in the French recorded history of someone being possessed by someone by the name of Zozo, and I think it was two other demonic entities, Mimi and something with a C, and right, and then it jumps to, I think it's what, 1980s, yeah, almost 200 years later. Right, and I even read that the letter Z, the consonant letter Z, was I think it was in Europe. The government wanted to outlaw the letter. Where was that? I was in the UK. Right, because they felt that it was sort of evil, the letter. Pop culture. Mhm. One dominant characteristics of Zozo that I've heard time and time again is in regards to Zozo, and it's being described that Zozo is this three-headed dog that guards the gates of hell, or that there is a three-headed dog that guards the gates of hell that has a tattoo on its forehead with the letters Zozo on it. And therefore, they're equating it to this demonic entity, Zozo. Now, I've gone back and I've done my research and gone back in history and learned that yes, there is in history, in theology, that there is a supposed three-headed dog that guards the gates of hell, but it is called Cerberus, or also too. There's another one called Nabarius. I just butchered that name, Nabarius. So those two demonic names, which have history and have been noted within theology to be a three-headed dog that guards the gates of hell. But nowhere does it say anything about them having a Zozo tattoo or of any depiction or of any relation to anything with the name Zozo at all. There is no Zozo in history that is said to guard the gates of hell. And so I'm not sure, again, where this miscommunication is coming forward, that, or this misperception, this sort of odd perception that it is. And again, it's sort of like that telephone game. One person starts it, and this oral history comes down the pike, and you end up with this thing being a polka-dotted elephant with a bow and arrow and a tutu. And that's not what it is, and that's not how it is. And so if everybody were to just do their research and look for it, you'd find that there's nothing substantial that will come back to it actually being what people are saying it to be being. And it just doesn't substantiate the claims to it. Right. Well, can I tackle that for a minute? Okay. I can complete, not debunk it, but I can completely try and explain the idea of when somebody does not have an idea of Zozo, and when they do the Ouija board, Zozo comes up. So, for instance, if everybody who is listening on Blog Talk right now can either go on Google right now and pull up a picture of the Ouija board, and I'll give you a couple of seconds if you're able to do that, or if you have it in memory and you can tell where the letters are on the board, great. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube, you can actually see the board that's right in front of me. You'll be able to sort of play along as I'm talking. So if you have somebody who does not know anything about Zozo and is playing the Ouija board, you automatically, and I can guarantee you 9 times out of 10, people have seen movies, have seen videos, have seen things where people are possessed, okay? And when people are in an altered state of mind, not just being obsessed, but even in an altered state, and I can talk about that because it happened to me in one of the locations that we were at, where I was rocking back and forth, forward and back, and the constant motion of the forward and back movement creates or connotates the idea that you are in an altered state of mind. Something is taken over, either your subconscious, conscious, or possibly even something quote-unquote demonic. And so this back and forth motion is symbolic for something being possessed or something of a possession. So when you look at the board, and you look at the Ouija board, and the idea of something taking over the board and something taking while you were doing the board, and if everybody's watching YouTube right now, they're going to just see me moving the planchette right now. While you are doing the Ouija board and a supposed demonic entity takes over you or the board itself, there's that back and forth motion. It's that repetitive motion back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And if you notice when you're going back and forth, and again, this is my interpretation, this is not fact, but this is my interpretation from the experience and knowledge that I have gathered through doing all of the research that I've done. This back and forth motion connotates, I mean, if you just see this right now on screen, this connotates something is taking over the board or something is taking over you. Now, when you do this back and forth motion, where is the planchette landing on? When you are going back and forth, you've got Z and O. Z and O. Above the Z, you have M. Above the O, you have A. And here we go, a back and forth motion. So you've got M, A, M, A. Now those are the two quote-unquote demonic entities that come up together all the time, Zozo and Mama. You see that all the time in videos, you hear people talking about that all the time. To me, that's my interpretation of what I think is happening, and whether or not that's an what is that called? See if you can look it up for me, because that's going to bother me now. Idio something. If people know that in chat, if they can type that in. Your mind, your subconscious is taking over your motor skills, basically. And it said that that's basically how it's working. I kind of believe that, and I kind of don't believe that. Now, everybody who's listening to me right now, I don't want you to think that I am debunking the Ouija board. I do believe it is a communication tool. I truly do believe it. Just like the digital recorder is, just like the Ovilus is, just like the Ghost Box is to some degree. There are many things that I do believe that can be. But there are things that happen within all of these tools that can be explained away. And what I'm talking about right now is this idea of the Zozo. Because I cannot find any history of these things, because I cannot find anything to substantiate the claims, it is leading me to believe that this could possibly be the reason why. Now, I may be completely wrong, and I don't have any credentials to back up anything that I'm saying, but this is my interpretation of it. And so this back and forth motion, I believe, could be it. Now, it's easy when you are going back and forth to have that idea, and the whole idea of the whole 8 going across the board, when the figure 8 is created across the board, that's been known for many, many years. It's not truly associated with just Zozo. The figure 8 motion, sort of symbolic for infinity, has been known for many, many years, not just with the Ouija itself, but it's also been known for beginning of theology even, the idea of this infinity nature and it's sort of taking over forever. It's sort of that never-ending type of feeling. And so it's not a direct connection to just Zozo. It could be anything. It could be any demon. But again, you've got this back and forth motion. Even though it is a figure 8, it's a back and forth motion. And so I'm just gathering that this whole thing is misinterpreted as a Zozo phenomenon and is not truly demonic in nature. Yes, or idiomotor effect, as Rachel just posted in the chat room. Right, and I don't believe that that explains every experience on Ouija board, because I have had many great experiences on here that I can back up with evidence. But there are some cases where that does happen. Just like, and I keep talking about this all the time, just like with, a picture of a UFO. There are some pictures and videos that you can debunk and say that it's CGI, or that it's made in Photoshop, or that it's whatever. That's sort of similar to the same idea as this. That there are cases that can be debunked, and people will try and just do those things for the sake of either getting their 15 minutes of fame, or they want to be a victim, or they want to play the whole attention game. But there are people out there who truly do respect the Ouija board and do truly communicate it with it very, very well. And there's one gentleman actually on YouTube who I find amazing, and I don't know, Lucy, if you watched him. There's a gentleman on YouTube that his name is Ryan, and I think his last name is pronounced Espich or Espic. It's Espich. He's got some really great video, and he does pretty much every single day. He does a live Ouija board session, and he talks to his grandmother. There's a Q&A session about life events, how the afterlife is all about, and everything. And he has had several times Zozo come to him, where he claims is Zozo, and he's gotten rid of him by basically saying "fuck you" and get away, and that was it. But I just don't know. And he claimed actually that when he was talking to Zozo, that it was just a spirit acting, and so it could be that as well. Spirits do see everybody. They do know what we're doing. They do see the hype that goes around, and they could be just playing a game with everybody and acting as Zozo to try and get attention. Who knows? All right, Lucy, I'm gonna try right now. I'm gonna start it. I'm gonna actually try right now to see if we can connect to Zozo or whoever. Now, obviously, you cannot get spirits or anybody on demand, um, but I'm gonna try and see, and I'm gonna call out and see who comes, and I'll specifically ask for Zozo. So I'm gonna try it now for a little bit, and I had to blow out the candles because the candle wax is spilling all over onto the table. So I just wanted to show everybody again, just in case anything does happen tonight, this is a regular Ouija board. I have no wires. I'm going to do this beforehand. There's no wires. As you can see, there's nothing attached anywhere. I'm going to put this back on the table in between the candle wax that melted. And I'm going to put the planchette back on. I have nothing up my sleeves. Obviously, I'm wearing short sleeves today. So, yeah. I mentioned earlier, yeah, see, now it's going to yellow a little bit. And I mentioned earlier on that, if you didn't catch it, I mentioned earlier that the K2 meter has been a little moody lately, and I'm not sure if it's the mechanisms inside or not. It does work, but it's I guess it's been a little bit more highly sensitive, I should say then, that the first two greens have been almost steady or constant all the time. And I'm not going to count the two greens or even the yellow. The only thing I'm going to count is the orange and the red, if anything, if it does pop up. And I've noticed now that the second green is more constant now, and the sort of flashing here and there. But for me, because I know the mood of this K2 meter, I'm not going to count anything unless it goes to orange or red. So if you guys see it going to orange or red, point it out. Let Lucy know, because I'm not totally looking at it all the time. And I'm going to turn on the obelisk though when I do this Ouija board now, but I'm not going to do it just yet. So I just wanted to get a little bit ready. Just get the board ready, get my fingers ready, get my back ready, because this is going to take a little bit. And what I'm going to do first is just basically ask if anybody is here tonight, if there's anybody here with me tonight. If it moves to yes, then I'm going to ask who it is. If it tells me its name, then I'm going to go with it. If it doesn't tell me its name, or if it doesn't go to yes, then I'm going to ask the Zozo. That's the respect that you give to the other side. Because if there are spirits around me that do want to talk, that respect that they are allowed to talk to me if they are here with me, okay? So let me turn on the obelisk. I'm sorry, I'm just going to put this like this so I can see if the word pops up. Okay. Okay, ready? Is there anybody here that would like to speak to me tonight? Is there anybody that would like to speak to me tonight? If there are any spirits here with me in the room that would love to speak with me and communicate, please say yes. See, now the K2 meter went down just to the solid one green. Zozo, we've been talking about you tonight. You've heard your name many, many times. If you are real and want to talk, Avala said country again. Zozo, if you are there, I'm ready to talk. Error. The Bible said error. Is there a Zozo here tonight? Are there any spirits that would like Are there any spirits that would like to speak to me tonight? Please move the planchette to yes. Avila said sit. Avila said eat. Does somebody want to come and sit down and eat? I don't know what the Avilas just said. No. Are there any spirits here tonight? Are there any spirits here tonight that would like to speak to me? Zozo, are you there? I'm not feeling anything. All right, we'll give it a little rest, and then we'll come back to it.
Can appear as a shadowy figure. Sometimes it's supposed to have wings and scales, and it can be shapeshifted. It has been known to appear as a child. The name Lily came up a lot in the research, where contact was made with a spirit, and it identified itself as a child named Lily. And once the conversation started, then all of a sudden, the conversation turns very negative, and then the entity announces itself saying, well, I am Zozo. It can also identify itself as a deceased loved one. There were some stories where people were using the board and they thought they were talking to a deceased grandmother or somebody like that. Then all of a sudden, the entity starts saying, I am Zozo. So it changes. It can start out very innocently, and then all of a sudden it'll become very nasty. Some things to watch for. People, there's a lot of stories of people who say they are possessed, that they get attachment, that once they've used the Ouija board and they've made contact with this entity, they feel like that it follows them, that they have this attachment. Now, John Zappis, he says that this attachment is one of the hardest attachments to break. He states that he's rarely encountered this entity in anything other than Ouija-related cases. And he also says that the reports, they come in waves, that he may get a whole lot of people reporting contact with Zozo, and then all of a sudden, there'll be nothing for a while. So one of the things that Rosemary Ellen Guiley had stated, that the characteristics of this entity really are like that of the jinn as opposed to a demon. So there is a thought that this really isn't a demon. It is something else pretending to be a demon.
You know, one of the things, and I have you on speaker, can you still hear me, Lucy?
Yes.
One of the things that Darren Evans had said was that he found out that Zozo is supposedly a female and not a male. So the stories about the supposed, I don't know if you want to call it molestation of, women and all of that stuff, could that still be true then?
Well, what I found interesting, of course, I went back and I watched the Ghost Adventures episodes where they were using the Ouija board. They had made contact supposedly with an entity that called itself Zozo. And there was a female in the location. She got up, she left the room, she came back, and her pants were undone. She stated that whatever, she heard something that had told her that it wanted to see her tits. So, it led me to believe, okay, well, wait a minute, if this is a female entity, why is this inappropriate action happening to her? Like she was really acting like she had been sexually molested. So there's, when you go through the stories, there's a lot of discrepancies. The main thing is, though, that it usually is pretty nasty when it makes itself known. Things get nasty. Let's see. One story that Rosemary had in her book, she devoted a whole chapter to the Zozo phenomena in her book called Ouija Gone Wild. And she relates to the story of a long-distance Ouija experiment in Canada. And this was the one international incident I found. And I found it interesting because these were two groups of people using Ouija boards in two separate locations. They were 30 miles apart. They were students. One was a student. He was living at home temporarily. And this student who was at home, his family had already had contact with the paranormal. They had seen shadow figures in their home. And he states that he had never used a Ouija before. He became friends with another student who was obsessed with the Ouija. Now, they decided that they were going to use the Ouija in two locations at the same time. They gathered friends in each group, and one group did not tell the other who was in the group. The board actually gave the initials of two of one group to the other. They confirmed that there were two people in the group that had those initials. Now, there were two entities that made themselves present. Now, one of them called themselves Z1, and the other one called themselves CG4. Now, they argued about control of the board. Now, this is a characteristic that comes into play when this other entity called Mama makes itself known. Supposedly, Mama and Zozo, they argue. They argue about who's going to control the board. Now, Z1 was the nasty entity, and the student states that the atmosphere was very dark when Z1 was in power. Z1 kept stating that they had control, that they had the power. Now, the other presence was kinder, and the atmosphere changed when the other entity, which was called CG4, was in control. Now, the Z1 entity told the student that his girlfriend would become ill and that he would die on his birthday. And it really doesn't say whether or not the student is still alive. Have confirmation of this. This is another characteristic. When Zozo becomes active, it has been known to tell people that negative things are going to happen. Mr. Evans states that he was told by Zozo that something was going to happen to his daughter. And after that session, his daughter did become ill. They almost lost her, and he attributes it to Zozo telling him what was going to happen and possibly making it happen. Now, going back to the two people, and this happened in Canada, when the CG4 finally took over the board again, they let them know that they could close down the session. And one of the last things the CG4 entity said, God will save the young. The students stated that the atmosphere was no longer dark. And one of the things that happened during this session, one of the participants tried to record the session, but when he played back his tape, he could hear before the session began and after the session. During the time of the session, there was nothing but blank tape. So that's just one of the experiences that were relayed. And I give one credit because Rosemary does her research. I have a tendency to believe what she's putting down. Again, what I was saying, a lot of the stories that are on the internet, you got to take with a grain of salt. It's very hard to tell what is fiction. my personal opinion is I think that, like we talked about before, a lot of these people, they hear the stories, they have it set up in their mind. And almost like when we did the show about the Philip experiment, like where you can create a ghost, is this another case of something that everyone's thinking about it? Everyone is geared towards, something negative and evil coming. Are we actually creating this being into reality? Or is it just, are we opening a door to something that we don't know anything about?
Well, yeah, Carl Jung talks about, the famous Carl Jung talks about, the possibility, and he would sort of characterize Zozo as an archetype. This would be sort of like the trickster, and it's the subconscious mind that formulates. And his idea, he's famous psychiatrist, that your subconscious formulates things into reality. And the idea that there's this global sort of consciousness, or global subconscious, that if many, many people start to think and feel things, that it becomes a reality in your mind. And it can create itself into a physical form, which is also known as a tulpa, as a thought form. And this has been debated with the Zozo phenomenon also as well. It's sort of been the subject of debate in recent years of whether or not Zozo, if the cases that cannot be debunked, could this be a tulpa? Could this be your subconscious creating reality? Is it something that we all have thought about for so long and put so much about into, that we are now creating this into an actual reality as a physical form? And this physical form is taking over and creating itself as a spirit form. And sort of we are guiding it. We are. It's sort of like a Sims character, a Sims video game. We're giving it its clothing, its characteristics, its feelings, and we're giving its duties. And that's sort of one of the ideas that people are debating now, of whether or not that's what it could be. I'm not sure. I'm not convinced of whether or not it is. I think for certain people, I think if you believe so hard and so much, and there's that energy in your subconscious that, combined with other factors, with the ideomotor effect as well, that it can be created in that way and may seem as though. But I'm not convinced in that courtroom yet.
Well, just on that, I want to talk about Robert Murch. And for those of you who don't know, Robert Murch is the chairman of the Talking Board Historical Society. He appeared in the Ghost Adventures episode talking about Zozo. And they interviewed him about the entity and the connection to the Ouija board. And just like you said, Robert says that the more people believe in something, the more real it is to them. He states that a lot of people say they contact Zozo, but he doesn't really state that using the spirit board opens the door. It's more that if you think something has happened, then in your mind it did. Basically, if you wander around the dark with the idea that you're chasing the devil, then in your mind, that's the reality. So again, I kind of agree with Robert. I mean, I think a lot of people, maybe not consciously, are looking for this, but I think the intent, going back to the word intent, I think the intent is there, and people have this subconscious idea that I'm gonna, something negative is gonna happen. I mean, the Ouija's got such a negative reputation that I honestly do not believe that it's totally true. But everyone uses it. They think that something bad's going to happen. Everyone gets that thrill. It's like, if you use the Ouija board, you're opening a door. I really believe that that's a possibility. You want to believe something so bad, you manifest it into reality. Now, are we truly manifesting something? Are we truly manifesting a demon? If you look at the actual definition of demon, they agree. They're there. The demons are already there. But by using the Ouija board, why is it only happening with the Ouija board? As Zach has said, a lot of the cases that he gets, most of the cases that he gets involving Zozo are tied to the Ouija board. You don't find it with anything else. You don't find it with how is it that it happens with the Ouija board and it doesn't happen with an audio recorder? We get voices, we get some nasty things that come across, but I did not see anything that had a voice or something identifying itself to be Zozo except with the Ouija board. And that goes back to your theory about the placement of the letters. If you're moving your hand back and forth, of course, what are you going to get? You're going to spell out Zozo. You're going to spell out Mama.
Right. There's, obviously, there are videos on YouTube and there are certain people who have dedicated their videos to contacting Zozo and to communicating with Zozo. And you see these videos where it's spelling out their name and, the whole thing of 98765, the countdown, where it's supposedly when there's that countdown of 987654321, that's a symbolic for a demonic near. This whole thing about when the planchette goes off the board, then that means that it's being released off the board. There's so many things that people say and people talk about and claim to be truth. And, we may not be, Lucy and I may not be the most popular show in the world. And we may not have the most popular YouTube videos going out there. And I think it's because we have a more realistic approach to the paranormal. We don't do all of these, bells and whistles to the idea, and first of all, we don't create fraud and fake. And so I could have easily have moved this planchette to yes when I asked for Zozo and made a spectacular show for everybody. But I didn't do that because I'm here for the truth. I'm looking for the truth. I'm looking for an answer. And so if it moved on its own, I would have announced it. You would have seen it. Who knows? It could do it again. Maybe when I do this one more time in a couple of more minutes and it does move, then great. But I'm not here to gather listeners, and I'm not here to gather viewers in order to get my 15 minutes of fame or our 15 minutes of fame. I'm here to get answers and to actually speak the truth in reality. And so if I cannot find anything about Zozo, and there's no history along with it, and all it is verbal communication passed on for many, many years from a large percentage of generation, then I can't claim it to be truth. Darren Evans, who, I really don't know very well, and I posed this question on our Facebook page, a zoologist. First of all, that name is almost laughable because the whole extensionologist means that you are an expert in the study of a scientific area or a scientific realm. And first of all, of Zozo is not scientific at all. It is the complete and it's the complete opposite of that. Number one. So I don't know how anybody can call themselves a zoologist. Or in any case, the name and the word and the description demonologist, I have a hard time swallowing because nobody can really be the expert study of demons. You really don't know. You have no clue. It's just like saying you're an expert in the afterlife. Well, you can only be an expert if you're dead. And so, therefore, to be an expert in demonology, I don't know how you can explain that or how you can be, other than studying the stories. You could be an expert in the stories of demonology, but to be an expert in demons and knowing demons, and whether or not it to be truth, I can't see that to be obvious at all to me. So this show and what we try and do is try and find out what the truths are. Where can we go? Where are the roads going to lead us with Zozo, especially for tonight? And so I've had a hard time trying to find where to even start with Zozo, let alone where to go. And so if I can't find anything on where to even begin with it, all roads are going to lead everywhere, just like a tree branch. And you're going to go off on every tangent because the only thing that you can really rely on are stories. And I know the whole thing is your story is truth. I just can't believe it because I've never experienced it. I've never seen it for myself, and so therefore I can't believe it to be truth. Now, I'm not saying that it is not truth, and Zozo is not truth. I'm saying I can't find the truth to be able to present it to myself and to be able to present it to the people who are listening to me and the people who rely on Lucy and I to explain the truth and to give the facts. So that's why we're sort of taking this side of, I guess, the battle with the truth or I don't even know what the word is, the false, truth or false on Zozo. And so I can't find what is right and what is wrong with it. And so my stance in it right now, Lucy, is that I don't believe it to be true. I think it is all a made up belief that has been passed on for so long, that has been created, and a stigmata has been put on it that has sort of built up, just like the Ouija board. You know, the Ouija board has such a bad stigmata on it that it's almost similar in nature, that it has just got this bad connotation to it, that when you hear the word Zozo, it's almost as if you said to everyone, you have now worshipped the devil.
Well, in the chat room, we've got a couple people that were, Paul was asking about, what we thought about the Charlie thing. And I have to say, there's no Mexican demon named Charlie. First off, if there was, he wouldn't be called Charlie or Jose or something like that. I equate Zozo almost to the Charlie thing. I mean, in my mind, it's people that are scaring themselves when they're using the Ouija. And to me, the Ouija is a tool. It is something that can possibly open a door to the other side. But again, it's your intent. Your intent is what makes everything happen. I feel that if you're looking for a thrill, it's going to happen. You're going to scare yourself. And I think the Zozo phenomena is a lot of people that have scared themselves into believing that there's a demon that comes through. I haven't seen evidence of it. I haven't found any evidence of it in the research. And even when we've used the Ouija board ourselves, nothing like that has ever. Now, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist if it doesn't happen. But in my experience, I haven't found proof of it yet.
I'm going to try this again, Lucy. Do you want me to try it again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Try it again. See if anybody answers.
Okay, ready? It's like I'm playing the piano, moving my fingers out. Okay, ready? Okay. I'm just going to call for Zozo. Zozo, if you are here tonight, you have been listening to us speak your name. You've heard me say not true, that you do not exist. If you do exist, the only way to satisfy my curiosity is to show me on this board that you do. So that I ask you, if you are here tonight, please move the planchette to yes. Zozo, if you are here, please respond.
Anthony asked if there's anyone around that wants to communicate.
If there's anybody here that is around me and my energy that would like to speak, please come forward. Is there anybody here? If there are any spirits here tonight around my energy, around me, that would like to speak, please come forward. I would like to speak with you and you only.
Is your Oculus still on?
Oh no, I didn't turn it on.
Now your K2 is still in green.
Please come forward and speak. Is anybody?
Anthony, I'm asking if anyone has a question that they would like you to ask.
Okay. If there's anybody here tonight that would like to speak, please do so now.
Is anything preventing them from speaking?
Are you able to speak, or is someone preventing you from not speaking with me?
Someone wants you to ask if Mama is there.
Mama, are you there? Mama, come forward and speak to me. Mama, are you there? Can you come talk?
Is there a Zaza there?
It's moving. Zaza?
Okay, you can see it moving.
Zaza? Or Mama? It stopped on W.
Okay, so it stopped in W.
Is there anybody here? Again. Stopped on P.
P,
P as in Peter.
WP.
Who's here? Is that your initials? WP? Move it again. Very slow. I think it's T. WPT.
T again.
No, T as in
T.
Tony. Here. If you were here, planchette to yes or no?
Anthony, you're not smoking right now, are you?
I put it out into the ashtray.
Somebody said that they saw smoke pass in front of the skull.
Or it may be the candle. Now it stopped. Oh, my back. Who's here? Go ahead, finish typing or writing. Finish spelling out. I'm going to turn on the obelisk. Okay.
Okay, so far we've got letters W, P, T.
Well, see, I don't know if it just went back to the middle again, because that's where it was in the very beginning. So I don't know if T counts.
white people.
Okay, who's here with me? Please come forward. You can speak. Let's move it again. I don't know what the obelisk said. It's back on W. Okay, W. What else? P again. WP.
WP.
Is that your initials, WP? Say yes or no if that's your initials, WP. And then again, it went right back to the middle. I don't know if it's T or if it's just right back in the middle again.
Mateo spelling out white power.
You part of the Nazi regime? Is this Hitler? No, seriously.
Hitler's been known to appear.
Seriously, who is this? Oh my God. My arms hurt. Sorry guys, my arms hurt. Okay. If there's anybody here, please spell out your first name. What is your first name? It's moving, but very, very slow. That's a motorcycle if you hear that in the background. Sorry. Please spell out your first name. The obelisk said fort. Please spell out your first name for me, please. it's moving. Avila said descent. And it's moving over to the moon. What does the moon mean?
I'm looking it up now.
Not sure what you mean by the moon. Can you spell your first name for me, please?
The moon means yes, or conditions are favorable.
Now it's moving to no, I think. No, I don't know where it's moving to now. Can you spell your name for me, please? Now it's over the Ouija name. I hate this obelisk. I can never understand what it says.
Anthony, they want you to ask it if it wants to talk to me.
Do you want to talk to Lucy? Can you see my faces, Lucy?
Hmm?
Can you see my faces?
Yes.
My back is killing me like this.
Did you say no
What?
at any point in the last seconds?
Did I say no?
Yes.
No.
I heard the word no after you asked if it wanted to talk to me.
The Avila said something, I think.
No, this wasn't the obulus.
No, it wasn't me. Do you want to talk to Lucy?
Mateo heard it too.
Come on, what's this Ouija mean? Video? Avila said video. I don't know what that said. My back is killing me.
See it's bothering you.
Well, it doesn't move. When it doesn't move, I have to stay still like that. I'm sorry, guys. Is anybody feeling anything? I don't know what WP means.
Lynn Bowling said that she felt a little bit when you said Zaza, but it felt like low energy.
Yeah, I did. When whoever was asking me to ask for Zaza and then Mama, whoever that was, when that started, that's when I started to actually feel something. um, not, physically feel, but like feel as though something was going to happen. And then that's when it started.
Are you feeling anything?
No, I was feeling something before, like I said, when I started to ask about Zaza Mama, and then it started to move. I did feel a little bit, but when it just landed now on Ouija, it just was very, very quiet.
And your K2 has not moved over the green at all.
No.
Now, for a while there, it wasn't moving at all. It just stayed in that first green light. And now it's kind of, the second green light is flashing, but I have not seen it go any higher than that.
All right, let me try this.
Pink Ghost wants to know if the entity is camera shy.
Avila said off. Okay, hold on.
Does it want the camera off?
Okay, spirits, whoever is with me, do you not want the camera? Do you want me to shut the camera off? Said set. Avila said set.
KO said you should be sitting on the floor. Your back wouldn't hurt.
I know. I can't do it though with the camera. Spirits, if you're there, please come forward. Lucy and I would like to talk to you.
Is WP a name?
Is WP the initials of your name? Or is that supposed to mean?
Okay, they want you to ask for Zaza again.
Okay, Zaza. Zaza or Mama? Zaza or Mama, come forward. Zaza, I'd like to speak with you. Are you there?
Is WP a place like Williamsport?
I don't know what the Avila said.
I can't understand it either.
I wish it would type out the name. I don't know what's wrong with it. Spirits, I'm here, willing to talk. If you are out there and can hear my voice and can feel my energy, perfect. Avila said perfect. Please come forward and speak with me. Please tell me your name. And if Zaza is there or Mama is there, if you're holding everyone back, then you come forward. And if you don't want to speak, then move aside and let me speak. The candle went out on my skull. I don't know what that Oculus just said. Whoever wants to speak, come forward. Zozo, Zaza, Mama, Zuzu, whatever your name is. If you want to speak, speak now. If you don't, move aside and let the other spirits speak.
The camera just went a little bit out of focus and then came back.
I know, I saw that.
Your Oculus is not moving. I mean, your K2 is not moving.
I'm not feeling anything.
Okay, well, so far we've gotten WP. Now, in the chat room, they're thinking it could be a place. It could be standing for well played.
Could be a lot of things. I don't want to.
The Washington Post.
The Washington Post?
You okay?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. And, you know, people say that it can't be done with only one person. You know, I can't say that that's false. I've seen it done many, many times with only one person. You don't need two people. It does work much better and much quicker and faster because there's more energy with more than one person. But I have seen it work brilliantly with one person. As I was talking about before, that gentleman Ryan, who also has a YouTube channel, his works brilliantly. So it's not just because it's just me that it may not be working at all and I need to have another person. No, it does work with one.
I mean, honestly, I'm not feeling anything, and I know a lot of times I can pick up on things, and I'm not really feeling much of anything.
No, like I said, I did feel a little bit before when we were talking about Zaza and Mama the first time. Um, Zaza Mama, because wait, as soon as I said that, it just went to yellow. Zaza Mama, Zaza Mama. The K2 went to yellow when I said that before. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I was feeling it before when we first initially started to talk about that, but that was it. Um, it was fading in and out after as it was going through. So maybe WP doesn't mean anything. Maybe it just was not, there wasn't enough energy to continue. You know, people can interpret this. Here's one thing, people can interpret this. It was going towards Z and it was going towards O. Maybe it was Zozo. You know, I'm not interpreting it as that. But because there wasn't enough energy, it couldn't go all the way. I'm not claiming that at all.
Okay, one thing I want to ask you, what do you have inside the little skull?
I mentioned it already. You don't listen like usual. I have I have the quartz and limestone.
Okay, okay.
These are the quartz and limestone, which is said to attract spirits.
And Sharon said that she felt someone watching, but that's all.
Could be. Could be. Um, Anything else in particular that you wanted to point out about Zozo?
Other than the stories, like I said, the stories that are on the internet, like I said, a lot of them, they all seem to be the same. And they're a little hard, like I said, it's hard to distinguish fact from fiction. And honestly, in what I've found, I honestly have trouble believing in this entity. Now, I'm not saying that, negative and darkness does not exist. But as far as something in particular named Zozo, I'm having a hard time believing.
Yeah, it just, like I said before, there are just too many things, there are too many variables in this mix that lead me to believe that there isn't a thing called Zozo, that this was just consciously or subconsciously created over time and has just led to this phenomenon. I don't put any credence to it or energy to it at all. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I may not be getting Zozo tonight on the Ouija board, because there's no belief on my part, really. Maybe if I was, if I had that energy into it, Zozo would be appearing. If I was completely afraid of it and had all of that fear and that energy that fear creates, would have subconsciously created that ideomotor to move the planchette in that manner. So, there's just too many things that lead me to believe that Zozo does not exist, or is a spirit that is coming through and playing with people while they are on the Ouija board.
There's a message in chat, in the YouTube chat, that says, if you keep following Ouija, you will end in hell. Repent and follow Jesus today.
Well, everybody has their opinion. And I don't know if I want to get into a theology debate tonight. But I won't. So I'll leave it at that.
I will ask you one thing before you finish. You need to close out your session.
How would you like me to close it out?
Well, you just need to make sure that you ask whoever is around that they leave, that they are no longer welcome to communicate.
The only reason why I asked that is because, again, with the Ouija board, there are, with the 10,000 myths that are out there on how to protect yourself and how to start a Ouija board and how to conduct a Ouija board, there are 10,000 ways to close out a Ouija board. I've heard many people just say basically round it out in a circle and move it to goodbye, flip it over, flip the board over. I've heard so many things that nobody knows what to do. So it's pretty much each to their own, really. And so I do say if there are any spirits who have come through, who are still lingering around, that please go back to where you came from. You're not welcome in this home unless you are invited to. And this session is now closed, so I expect that you go back to where you came from. And I will move the planchette to goodbye. I will flip it over. I will flip the board over. I'll do everything he says to do. And hopefully I've done all of the closeouts that everybody does.
And there you have it. As far as this session goes, I mean, honestly, we got some movement. It went to the letter W, went to the letter P. I mean, in my mind, that is not enough to definitively say that you made contact. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
No, I don't know what that was. I'm not going to say that that was contact at all. Definitely wasn't anything intelligent. There wasn't, I can say there wasn't really enough energy. I did not feel anything. Usually I would. So yeah, nothing really convinced me that there was any. Certainly not a Zozo. And that's it.
I mean, and like I said, I mean, this is definitely a subject that, of course, we could do a ton more of research on it, and maybe later on we'll readdress it again. But as far as the session goes right now, I haven't seen or I haven't felt anything that tells me that contact was actually made. As far as Zozo goes, I still have a hard time believing in this entity, whoever it may be. I certainly don't feel that it's demonic. I think too many things that happen are automatically classified as demonic, and I think that is a mistake on a part of a lot of people. I do believe that there are demons, but I don't think that the contact is made as often as people report it to be.
Again, you did say you can research this and we could do more about this and longer. I don't think we could because I think we have exhausted all of the research. There really is anything. All we'd be doing, the Avilis just said something. I don't know what it did. All we would be doing is just regurgitating all of the stories and experiences that people have had, and I don't know how much good that would do. I don't know how much farther along in the truth trail that we'd get, but that's all that we would be doing because there's nothing else that we can naturally dig up on Zozo itself. So I think we did a great deal of research, and I think we've exhausted a lot. There are probably many people out there that would debate us and say we didn't do enough and that they've got certain things, and that's great. If you do have information that we didn't talk about tonight, we'd love to hear from you. And so, check us out on our Facebook page and, email us at paranormal.review@aol.com. Send us some information because the more information that we get, the better educated we are and the more explain and let you guys be aware of. So, please.
Yeah, so let's go to, we've got about 8 minutes left. We've got 6 minutes left. So let's go to the business that we usually do. And let's go to our Paranormal Review Radio Fan of the Week. And this week I thought was appropriate. Our Fan of the Week is author and speaker Karen A. Dahlman of San Clemente, California. Now, if you listen to the show, Karen is a friend of the show. She was a wonderful guest who joined us on a show that we did about spirit communication and the Ouija. Karen does follow our show, and she frequently gives us a like on our page. So we want to thank you, Karen, for your support, and thank you for being a fan.
What a coinky dink that Karen is. Fan of the week this week. Thank you, Karen, and congratulations. It's always great to talk to you. And if you guys out there want to be a Paranormal Review Radio fan of the week, just like us on Facebook or subscribe here on YouTube if you guys are watching us. Subscribe to us on our YouTube channel at Paranormal Review Radio.
So, once again, there are so many things that we encounter when we explore to the unknown. How much is real and how much is our fears that we've manifested into reality. Social media, movies, television, we are bombarded by so much. And a lot of it is simply created to thrill, to make a buck, to get attention. While not all of it is false, one has to seriously try to separate fact from fiction. Don't take things that you hear and read as gospel until you've done the research. Never stop looking for the truth, and most of all, when you're on your search, remember to protect yourself before dealing with the unknown. So, when it comes to another tool that we use while we're investigating, the ghost box. You've got people who are on both sides of the coin. Now, this is a device that uses the sweep of radio frequencies to allow spirits to communicate. Now, some people like me, they love the device. Others, like Anthony, question whether or not the box is really a true form of communication with the other side. Now, there have been some amazing things heard while using the box, but are we truly connecting with spirits, or are we just listening to spurts of radio broadcasts? Michael J. Baker founded the New England Center for Advancement of Paranormal Science, and he is a member of the Associated for the Scientific Study of Anomalous Phenomena. He's also a film producer and an author who writes about scientific research in the paranormal. A voice for the advancement of paranormal science. Michael will be returning to the show next Friday night to discuss the validity of the ghost box with us. It promises to be a very interesting night, so please be here. We want to thank everyone for spending yet another 2 hours with us, whether it's live on Friday nights or on YouTube or on iTunes. You're part of a very special group. Thank you, Anthony, for always being willing to step over the line just a little bit. You are truly amazing, and thank you for doing this. I mean, it was awesome. So, until next week, dear friends, keep searching for the truth and have a paranormal week. Good night.
Good night, everybody.